Far beneath the rolling hills and stone valleys of central Turkey, there lies another world, silent, vast, and forgotten. It's a world carved not by nature, but by human hands. When the winds of Cappadocia sweep over its strange, conical rock formations, few realize that deep below their feet, entire cities sleep in darkness. Imagine descending a narrow tunnel, lit only by a trembling torch. The air grows colder, heavier. Walls of soft volcanic stones surround you, etched by ancient tools. As you go deeper, you find rooms, kitchens, sleeping quarters, even wine cellars, all hidden hundreds of feet underground. The passage twists, leading you to a round stone door, so massive that it could seal an entire tunnel. And in that moment, one question echoes in your mind. Who built this, and why? This is the mystery of Cappadocia's underground cities, an ancient network stretching across the heart of Anatolia. Archaeologists have uncovered more than 200 of these subterranean settlements, the largest, Derinkuyu, plunging nearly 85 meters beneath the surface. It could once house over 20,000 people, men, women, children, livestock, and their food supplies. But the deeper the scientists dig, the more questions emerge. The layout is precise, the ventilation ingenious, far too advanced for its supposed age. Was it built merely as a refuge from war? Or does it date back to an era long before written history, when the world itself was still recovering from forgotten cataclysms? Some believe these tunnels sheltered early Christians fleeing Roman persecution. Others whisper that they were much older, relics of a prehistoric civilization that vanished without a trace. And so, the mystery remains. Who carved this hidden world beneath the earth, and what ancient fear drove them to live in the shadows?
To understand Cappadocia's underground cities, we must first understand the land itself, a place where nature and time have always conspired to shape the extraordinary. Millions of years ago, this region was the heart of violent volcanic eruptions. Layers of soft tuff, a porous rock formed from compressed ash, blanketed the landscape. Over millennia, wind and rain sculpted these layers into surreal shapes, spires, cones, and domes, now called the fairy chimneys. But while erosion shaped the surface, ancient humans discovered something far more valuable below, a rock that could be carved easily, yet stood strong once exposed to air. This unique geological gift made Cappadocia the perfect canvas for ancient builders. Early settlers began carving simple caves as storage and shelter. Over time, these caves connected, rooms expanded, tunnels deepened, until entire subterranean worlds emerged. Archaeologists believe the oldest layers date back to the 8th or 7th century BCE, during the time of the Phrygians, an Iron Age civilization. Later, the Hittites, Persians, and eventually early Christians used and expanded them. Each generation left their mark, turning these stone veins into an underground history book written in rock. But it wasn't just architecture, it was engineering genius. The tunnels were meticulously designed, with ventilation shafts, fresh water wells, and airflow systems that could sustain thousands of people for months. Narrow corridors could be blocked by massive rolling stone doors, effectively turning sections into sealed chambers during invasions. Some of these doors weighed over 500 kilograms, yet were so perfectly balanced they could be moved by one person. The level of planning was astonishing. In Derinkuyu, archaeologists found stables for animals, kitchens with soot-blackened ceilings, storage rooms, churches, and even a school, all underground. Some of the levels connected to other nearby cities through hidden tunnels stretching kilometers long. It's no wonder many scholars consider these cities one of the greatest feats of prehistoric engineering, a masterpiece of survival architecture. But for all the brilliance, one question looms. What were they hiding from? The mainstream explanation is simple: war and persecution. From the Bronze Age onward, Anatolia was a crossroads of empires, a battleground of Hittites, Assyrians, Persians, Greeks, and Romans. When danger approached, the people of Cappadocia could vanish underground within minutes, sealing themselves off from attackers. Later, during the early Christian era, these underground labyrinths became sanctuaries. When Roman legions hunted followers of the new faith, Cappadocia's Christians disappeared into the earth, living secretly in dimly lit sanctuaries where prayers echoed off the stone walls. Yet something doesn't add up. Many of the oldest tunnels are far deeper than necessary for temporary refuge. Some reach depths of nearly 300 feet, with multiple levels descending in perfect symmetry, more like a pre-designed city than an improvised shelter. The ventilation shafts suggest long-term habitation, not short-term hiding. Moreover, some of the oldest passages show no identifiable cultural markings, no pottery, no inscriptions, no clear artifacts, as if they predate even the civilizations that history recognizes. This has led some researchers to wonder, could Cappadocia's underground cities have roots far older than we think? Certain archaeologists have proposed links between Cappadocia and the end of the last ice age around 12,000 years ago, the same mysterious period associated with Göbekli Tepe, located just a few hundred kilometers to the southeast. Göbekli Tepe, the world's oldest known temple, proved that highly organized societies existed thousands of years before agriculture or written language. Could the builders of Göbekli Tepe, or their descendants, have also been capable of digging deep beneath the earth? If that's true, the question becomes not why hide from humans, but why hide at all? Some fringe historians and alternative researchers propose darker possibilities, that these underground networks were built to protect people from catastrophe, massive solar flares, volcanic winters, or even meteor impacts that could have devastated the surface. In such a world, the Earth itself would have been the only safe haven. Mainstream science doesn't endorse these ideas, yet the absence of definitive proof means that the origins of Cappadocia's underground labyrinths remain shrouded in uncertainty. Each tunnel, each wall, whispers the same silent riddle. What were they running from, and how far did they go to escape it? Even today, new discoveries continue to reshape our understanding. In 2014, construction workers in the city of Nevşehir stumbled upon a vast network of tunnels previously unknown, possibly even larger than Derinkuyu itself. Early surveys revealed multi-level structures, stone passages, and artifacts buried for thousands of years. The find was so immense that Turkey's Housing Development Administration halted construction entirely. It seems the deeper we dig, the more the Earth reveals that its memory of humanity runs far deeper than our own. The underground cities of Cappadocia are not just ruins. They are echoes of survival. They remind us that human beings, whether 2,000 or 10,000 years ago, have always adapted, hidden, and rebuilt in the face of unimaginable threats. Perhaps somewhere in the silence of those ancient tunnels, we can still feel that primal instinct, the fear that once drove entire civilizations to vanish beneath the ground, and the brilliance that allowed them to survive there.
To truly grasp the mystery of Cappadocia's underground cities, imagine stepping back in time, thousands of years before written history, before kingdoms, before religion as we know it. The Earth was changing. Ice was retreating, climates were shifting, and great floods swept across continents. Humanity, scattered, vulnerable, and young, was forced to adapt. In this fragile period, survival demanded not just strength, but creativity. And in the heart of Anatolia, perhaps a group of people discovered a way to do the unthinkable, to take refuge inside the earth itself. Let us descend, not as archaeologists, but as witnesses. Picture this. An ancient tribe wandering across the arid plains, watching storms tear across the sky. The air smells of ash, the aftermath of volcanic eruptions that once shook the region. Thunder rumbles through the valleys and smoke rises from the distant mountains. They search for shelter, not knowing that beneath their feet lies the soft volcanic tuff perfect for carving. One night lightning splits the sky. The leader of the tribe, an old man with soot-streaked hands, presses his palm against the stone wall of a cliff. It crumbles easily. Within days, they begin to dig. At first, it's just a shallow cave, a temporary refuge from storms and predators. But as generations pass, they return, digging deeper. They carve rooms, connect them with tunnels, and slowly, an entire underground network begins to form. Centuries later, these primitive chambers evolve into vast living spaces. Each passageway is meticulously designed, angled to control airflow, with chimneys reaching towards the surface like stone lungs. They learn to bring fire underground without suffocating, an innovation that even modern engineers admire. And so, layer by layer, century by century, a civilization beneath the earth is born. Archaeologists studying Derinkuyu often describe it as a living organism. The city's structure mimics a human body. The narrow tunnels like arteries, the large communal halls like a heart, the ventilation shafts like lungs. The builders understood balance, temperature, and airflow with astonishing precision. But what makes it even more mysterious is its depth and complexity. Derinkuyu is 18 levels deep, though only 8 have been fully excavated. The rest vanish into darkness, unreachable due to collapses or sealed passages. Many locals believe there are secret tunnels that connect it to other underground cities miles away, forming a hidden network beneath the Anatolian plateau. Inside, archaeologists found churches carved into rock, massive storage areas, a baptismal pool, and even stone rooms that could have been schools or meeting halls. Some chambers had ventilation shafts that reached the surface, more than 50 meters tall, providing fresh air and escape routes. Every element seems planned, almost as if these builders had a blueprint, a design passed down through generations. But the question persists, how did they know how to build all this? There are no surviving records, no written plans, no known architects. The builders of Derinkuyu left no names, no inscriptions, no symbols of identity. It's as though they built for survival, not glory. Their priority was not to be remembered, but to endure. And perhaps that's what makes these cities so haunting. Unlike the pyramids of Egypt or the ziggurats of Mesopotamia, which rise toward the heavens as monuments to kings and gods, the underground cities of Cappadocia plunge into the earth, monuments to fear and endurance. Their very design seems defensive. The entrances are narrow, easily sealed by circular stone doors that could be rolled shut from the inside. Each passage could be blocked, isolating different sections. Intruders who entered would find themselves trapped in dead ends, suffocating in darkness. It's hard not to imagine that these people were hiding from something far more terrifying than an army. Some scholars suggest that Cappadocia's earliest builders may have been survivors of a cataclysmic event, perhaps a massive solar storm, a volcanic winter, or even the aftermath of a meteor impact. When the surface became uninhabitable, the underground world was the only sanctuary. Others see symbolic meaning. The descent into the earth could have represented a spiritual passage, a journey from darkness into light, from death into rebirth. After all, many ancient cultures associated the underworld not just with fear, but with transformation.
In this sense, Cappadocia's labyrinth might not have been only a fortress, but also a temple. A place where humans confronted both their deepest fears and their deepest faith. Imagine a candlelit hall deep beneath the rock. Shadows flickering on walls painted with early Christian crosses, the air thick with smoke and whispered prayers. Above ground, empires waged wars. Below, people found peace in silence. It's a haunting duality, the idea that the same space could be both a tomb and a sanctuary. Today, when explorers walk through those ancient passages, they can still feel the echoes of life. The grooves left by hands that shaped the walls, the blackened ceilings where fires once burned, the marks of chisels that dug in total darkness. Every inch of Cappadocia's underground cities tells a story not just of survival, but of mastery. Mastery of environment, of engineering, and perhaps of fear itself. Because when faced with extinction, these people did something extraordinary. They didn't flee the earth, they became one with it.
As we move deeper, both literally and symbolically, into Cappadocia's underground world, the questions multiply faster than the answers. Who were these people truly? And what knowledge did they possess that allowed them to carve entire worlds beneath solid rock without modern tools, without maps, without even daylight? The deeper we go, the harder it becomes to accept simple explanations. Mainstream archaeologists generally agree that most of Cappadocia's underground cities were expanded during the Byzantine period, roughly between the 4th and 10th century CE. During this time, the region was a crossroads of danger. Persians, Arabs, and later the Seljuks all fought for control. Christians seeking refuge from persecution could have retreated underground for safety. It's a logical theory, but it doesn't tell the full story. When the Byzantines arrived, the underground cities were already there. They modified, expanded, and decorated what had already existed. Some chambers clearly predate the Christian era, lacking any Christian symbols, their walls bearing only primitive carvings, sometimes geometric patterns resembling prehistoric art. If the Byzantines were not the builders, who were? Some archaeologists suggest the Hittites, an empire that thrived in Anatolia around 1600 BCE. Historical records show that the Hittites faced frequent attacks from the Kaskas, northern tribes that raided their lands. Hiding underground could have been a strategic defense. But even that theory runs into a problem. The oldest levels of these cities seem far more ancient than Hittite times. The stonework on the deepest floors is rougher, simpler, as if carved with primitive tools, while upper levels show refinement and engineering evolution. This suggests that the lower parts were much older, reused and modified by later civilizations. It's as though Cappadocia was built in reverse, beginning deep underground and slowly rising toward the surface over thousands of years. Some modern researchers, like Dr. Omir Demir of the Nevşehir University team, have suggested that Cappadocia's deepest layers could date back 8,000 to 10,000 years, far before the Bronze Age. If so, these would not just be ancient refuges, but among the oldest engineered structures on Earth. Such an idea forces us to rethink the story of human civilization. If people of the late Ice Age were capable of designing multi-level underground complexes with ventilation, drainage, and stable air systems, what else were they capable of? Could there have been a forgotten chapter in human evolution? A civilization erased by time, war, or natural catastrophe? This is where speculation begins, and where the story of Cappadocia drifts into the realm of mystery. Some researchers point to ancient flood myths, tales of survival that appear across every culture. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Bible, and Sumerian texts, we find echoes of a world drowned, a catastrophe that forced humankind to seek shelter. If such an event truly occurred, whether a global flood or a regional deluge, then the underground cities could have been a desperate response, humanity burrowing into the earth to escape a sky that wouldn't stop falling. Others propose even stranger theories. Some fringe scholars, like Eric von Daniken, suggest that these underground networks might have been built to survive cosmic disasters, meteor showers, radiation bursts, or something far beyond our understanding. They argue that similar subterranean structures exist in other parts of the world: the Hypogeum of Malta, the Ajanta caves of India, the tunnels of Egypt, and the underground complexes in Peru and Ecuador. Could they all be remnants of an ancient global network, a forgotten prehistoric technology of survival? Of course, mainstream archaeology rejects these theories as pseudoscience. But even skeptics admit the precision and extent of Cappadocia's tunnels are difficult to explain solely as a product of medieval necessity. Consider this. The ventilation system of Derinkuyu alone is a marvel. More than 15,000 separate air ducts feed into main shafts that keep oxygen circulating evenly across all levels, something only modern engineers can fully map. In some tunnels, the temperature remains constant year-round, 13 degrees Celsius, regardless of weather above. It's as if the builders understood the natural balance of air pressure, water flow, and geology at an advanced level. Knowledge like that doesn't appear overnight. It suggests long-term experimentation, centuries of refinement passed through generations. And that raises another mystery. If such knowledge existed thousands of years ago, where did it go? Did it vanish in war, in natural disaster, or was it deliberately hidden, sealed away just like the cities themselves? One of the most intriguing clues comes not from archaeology, but from local legend. In Cappadocia, elders tell stories of a time when the sun burned too hot, when the people fled into the earth to survive the wrath of the skies. The story is passed as folklore, but it resonates with surprising consistency. Similar myths exist among the Hopi of North America, who speak of ancestors who once lived underground after a great fire from the heavens. Coincidence? Or memory of something real? Whether folklore or truth, these stories reveal a common theme: the earth as sanctuary. Humanity, faced with extinction, returns to its womb, to the darkness from which it first emerged. In a way, Cappadocia's underground cities are a mirror of the human journey itself. We have always been explorers, builders, survivors. When the world above became hostile, we went below. When we could no longer climb higher, we dug deeper. And perhaps that's why these tunnels still resonate so deeply with us today. They are not just relics of the past, but they are symbols of the instinct that defines our species, the will to survive against impossible odds. When archaeologists walk through these silent corridors today, the walls seem to whisper not just of history, but of memory. The memory of a time when humanity faced something it could not defeat, and instead of surrendering, it vanished into the earth to wait until it was safe to rise again. What does Cappadocia truly represent? Is it a monument to fear or to resilience? A tomb or a rebirth? Perhaps both, because within those labyrinths carved by ancient hands, we see a reflection of ourselves. The same intelligence, the same anxiety, the same hope that one day, even in the darkest depths, humanity will always find a way back to the light.
When we stand before the entrances of Cappadocia's underground cities today, it's easy to see them as relics of the past, silent stone corridors, remnants of ancient fears. But if we listen closely, these tunnels still speak to us. Their story isn't just about archaeology or survival. It's about who we are as a species and what we choose to do when the world above collapses. Because in truth, Cappadocia is not just a place in Turkey, it is a mirror of human nature. Throughout history, we have faced countless cataclysms, floods, famines, wars, pandemics, extinctions. Each time, we did not simply vanish. We adapted. We hid. We rebuilt. The people of Cappadocia, like all our ancestors, found light where there was only darkness, carving homes, churches, and schools beneath tons of rock. That's not just survival, that's faith in life, in continuity, in the future. It's easy to forget how fragile civilization really is. We live in cities that stretch upward, glowing with electricity, powered by invisible systems that can fail in an instant. Yet deep beneath those same lands, thousands of years ago, humans created cities designed to last forever. Think about that. In a world without machines, concrete, or computers, they built a living system, one that could breathe, circulate, and protect its people from the chaos above. Even now, the air in Derinkuyu still flows perfectly through its ancient ventilation shafts. We call them primitive, but their design holds a wisdom we've lost, a harmony with nature, an understanding that safety doesn't come from dominating the earth, but from cooperating with it. Perhaps the people of Cappadocia knew something we've forgotten, that survival is not about power, but about adaptation. When they dug into the earth, they didn't just escape danger, they entered into a new relationship with the planet itself. The earth was no longer an enemy to conquer. It became a partner, a guardian, even a womb of rebirth. And isn't that idea more relevant now than ever? Today, as we face our own global challenges, climate change, social collapse, the fear of what's to come, we often look outward for solutions, new technologies, new frontiers, even new planets. But perhaps the lesson of Cappadocia is that sometimes the answer lies inward, in remembering how to live with the earth, not apart from it. In the darkness of those ancient tunnels, humanity proved that it could survive anything, not through conquest, but through cooperation. There's a poetic irony to it. We, modern humans, are obsessed with reaching the skies, building towers, launching rockets, dreaming of Mars. Yet the oldest evidence of our genius lies underground, hidden in silence, in stone, in the heartbeat of the earth itself. The people who built Derinkuyu may never have known their names would be lost to time, but their work was never about recognition. It was about continuity, the unbroken thread of human resilience. Even now, when you descend those narrow passages, you can feel that thread, an invisible connection linking us to every ancestor who ever fought to survive. Each carved wall, each soot-marked ceiling is a testament to the truth that we are not separate from our past. We are our past. Cappadocia reminds us that civilization is not measured by how high we build, but by how deeply we endure. Perhaps that's why the story of these underground cities touches something primal in us. It reminds us of a universal truth, that darkness does not always mean despair. Sometimes it is simply where we begin again. Because just as our ancestors once emerged from those tunnels to see sunlight after months of hiding, we too will one day rise from our own crises. From fear, from destruction, from ignorance, into a new dawn. But only if we remember what they knew. That light is not something we find above us, it's something we carry within us. In that sense, the underground cities of Cappadocia are more than archaeological wonders. They're symbols of the indomitable spirit of humankind, proof that even when buried by darkness, we never stop building, never stop breathing, never stop hoping. So the next time you look at the photographs of those silent corridors or imagine walking through their endless halls, don't see them as ruins. See them as a message, a whisper from your ancestors saying, "You have survived before. You can survive again."
In the end, the mystery of Cappadocia's underground cities is not simply about who built them, but why humanity felt compelled to create them at all. For thousands of years, those stone corridors have endured, untouched by sunlight, yet still alive with the echo of footsteps that once hurried through their tunnels. They speak of ingenuity born from fear, of faith born from necessity. They remind us that when faced with annihilation, our ancestors did not surrender to the darkness, they shaped it. And maybe that is the truest mark of civilization, not the monuments that reach toward the heavens, but the courage to descend into the earth and begin again. The underground cities of Cappadocia remain one of the world's greatest enigmas. Archaeologists can map their chambers and measure their depths, but they cannot measure the emotions that created them, the desperation, the devotion, the sheer will to survive. Whether these labyrinths were carved by early Christians seeking refuge, by forgotten Ice Age survivors, or by a civilization lost to time, one truth stands firm. These were people who understood that survival was not a matter of strength, but of unity. Imagine it. Thousands of families living together under the earth in perfect coordination. They shared food, air, and silence. They depended on one another completely. Every breath that filled those tunnels was part of a fragile, communal rhythm, a reminder that life itself was sustained by cooperation. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson Cappadocia offers us today. In a world divided by borders, by technology, by fear, we too are searching for safety in uncertain times. But unlike our ancestors, we no longer look to the earth as our refuge. We build walls instead of tunnels, towers instead of sanctuaries. Yet the truth remains the same. No matter how advanced we become, we are still the same fragile species, small beings living on a vast, unpredictable planet. Cappadocia teaches us humility. It whispers that the earth has always been both our home and our test. It has buried countless civilizations before us, and it will continue to do so if we forget what it means to live in balance. When you look at Derinkuyu today, you might see only darkness, narrow halls, rough stone, endless shadows. But if you listen carefully, you might hear something deeper, a heartbeat. The echo of humanity itself, pulsing through the rock, reminding us that the story of survival is never truly over. Because in every age, there comes a moment when humanity must face its own fragility, when the world we know collapses, and we are forced to choose whether we will descend or rise. Our ancestors chose to go underground, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. They understood that survival often requires surrender, that sometimes we must go inward to endure the storm. And when they finally emerged from those tunnels, blinking against the sunlight, they carried with them the oldest knowledge of all, that life is resilient, that fear can give birth to ingenuity, and that the human spirit, even in the deepest darkness, will always seek the light. So as we leave Cappadocia behind, the question lingers, have we really evolved so far from them? We have satellites, machines, and digital empires, but would we know how to survive if the world above us fell silent? Would we remember how to carve safety from stone, how to breathe together in the dark? The earth remembers, the tunnels remember, and perhaps deep down, so do we. Because the story of Cappadocia is not a story of the past, it is the story of us. We were born from the earth, And one day, when the world grows quiet again, it is to the earth we shall return. Until then, we keep digging, learning, and remembering. If this journey through the hidden world of Cappadocia moved you, consider joining us on the next expedition as we uncover the forgotten truths of our ancient world. Like, subscribe, and share this video to keep the story of humanity alive, one mystery at a time.